Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome back to first grade math. We're still doing some measurement today, so I hope you're ready and excited. And I hope you also joined the challenge that I gave you on Monday to find things around your house to show the measurement. Okay, let's review what we did on Monday. Circle the tallest or the longest object in each group. Put an X on the shortest, okay? So looking at my two flowers, I put a circle on the tallest and I put an X on the shortest. So comparing my two flowers right here, I'm going to circle the tallest and put an X on the shortest. It's easy when you have two. Now let's look at three. You circle the tallest or the longest and put an X on the shortest. By looking at it, you already know that this one right here is the tallest. So you're going to go ahead and circle that one. Now point to which one would be the shortest. It has to be shorter than the blue and shortest in the whole group. Green is shorter than the blue, but it's not the shortest in the whole group. So I'm going to put an X on the red. Going back to comparing the two, we have two sailboats. I want you to point to the tallest sailboat. If you pointed to the red sail, you're correct. Now, by comparing two, we know that this one would be the shortest. Remember, when you are measuring lengths or comparing lengths, they all need to start from the same point. Now that we've reviewed, let's start some new stuff. Building our vocabulary. Length. The length is when we're talking about how long something is, the length of it, okay? Longer, that's comparing, longer. Of these two ribbons, which one is longer? Is the black ribbon longer than the blue, or is the blue ribbon longer than the black? If I'm starting at the same the same point, the blue ribbon is longer than the black. You can see it there. All right, shorter. Shorter. Which one of these would be shorter? The black or the blue? Starting at the same point, which one do you think is shorter? The black one is shorter. And taller. Taller, we need to measure it this way. Which one would be taller? The blue ribbon or the black ribbon? If we're starting from the same point down here, which one is taller? The black or the blue? The blue. The blue is our longer one and our taller one. Look up here. I did some bars. We have a blue bar, a red bar, and an orange bar. And notice they all start from the same point. Number 1 says, the blue rod is blank than the red rod. So we're going to read it again and look at our rods. The blue rod is blank than the red rod. Okay, so observing our two rods right here, what do we notice? The blue is what to the red? Is the blue longer than the red, shorter than the red, or taller than the red? The blue compared to the red. The blue rod is shorter than the red. I'm going to fill in this blank with shorter. We're comparing the two lengths, the red and the blue. Okay, number 2. Let's read number 2. The orange rod is blank than the red. Remember, when we have a word problem, we always read it twice. The orange rod, so we know we're going to be observing this one. I'm going to put a little X to show me that I'm observing this one, is blank than the red rod. Than the red. So I'm comparing this orange rod to this red rod. What do you notice about the rods? Looking back at our vocabulary, the length is the same as the red. It's longer, it's shorter, or it's taller. The orange is blank than the red. Orange to red, the orange is taller than the red. All right, looking at number 3, we're going to compare these rods again. We are comparing the length of the rods. What were we comparing of the rods? Were we comparing the shape, the colors? Was it the length, the longer, the shorter, or the taller? We were comparing the length of the rods. Remember, they always need to start at the same point. How do you measure length? Well, today, instead of using a measurement of a ruler or a tape measure, we will be doing a square. 1 square equals 1 unit. So looking at this pencil, how many units long is the pencil? What is the length? Give you a few seconds to count them out. Remember, 1 square stands for 1 unit. Looking at our pencil, let's go ahead and count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had 6 squares, so my length of my pencil is 6 units, or 6 squares. Here's another example like the one we did to review our vocabulary. The red bar is longer than the blue bar. By observing these 2 bars, we're looking at the red bar is longer. You see the blue bar stops here, the red bar stops here. They start at the same point. The red bar is longer than the blue bar. The blue bar is longer than the green bar. So now you're comparing the green to it. You notice they start at the same point. They go. We're comparing the length. We're saying that the blue is longer than the green. The blank bar is the longest. Now looking at all 3 bars, which one is the longest? Go ahead and point to the longest. Is this one the longest? No, it is longer than the green, but it's not the longest in the group. This one is the longest. So filling it back into our question, the blank bar is the longest, the red bar is the longest. We're going to draw a line from the words to show which pencil is the longest and which pencil is the shortest. We're not comparing just 2, we're comparing 3. So we need to look and observe all the lengths of the pencil. They all start at the same point, but they end at different points. All right, we're seeing which one is the longest. So go ahead. Longest starts with the L, so we're going to draw a line to the longest. You can go ahead and point to the longest. I'm going to draw my line from the word longest to this pencil, because when I was observing the 3 pencils, I noticed that this length was longer than these 2 lengths. All right, now we're going to draw a line to the shortest pencil. Shortest, so it has to be smaller than our longest and the smaller one out of all 3 that we're observing. This one is shorter than the long pencil, but it's not the shortest. This one right here is the shortest. Remember, when you're comparing lengths, they must all start at the same point. Now we're going back to our unit. Remember, 1 square equals 1 unit. Okay? What is the length in squares? We're trying to find the length of this crayon. Hold up the number of lengths for the crayon. By looking at it, they already went ahead and showed you that they're starting from the same measure point and where it ends. They did a dotted line for you to where it ends. We wouldn't count these squares because our object that we're measuring ends right here. So looking at this, let's see if you're holding up the correct number. Let's count our squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. I counted 4 squares. Did you count 4 squares? If you did, give yourself a pat on the back. So what is the length in squares? About blank squares long. This green crayon is about 4 squares long. We didn't count these 2 squares because our object that we were measuring stopped right after the 4th square. All right, I want you to identify the length of this watch. You're going to do it with squares and then paper clips. How many squares long is the watch? How many paper clips long is the watch? Remember, each object that you're measuring by stands for 1 unit. They're starting at the same measure points and ending about the same measure points. Here's where the watch ends. Let's go ahead and count our squares. Let's see if you're holding up the right number. Starting at the same point, we're going to start right here with number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Am I done measuring? Got to keep going. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, getting close, 16, 17. I'm going to stop right here because the end of our watch ends right here. Okay, I'm not going to count this square because our watch doesn't continue. So, looking back, we measured with our cubes. About blank cubes long. How many cubes long was the watch? Looking and counting our cubes, it was 17. There was 17 cubes to measure the watch. What about the paper clips? About how many paper clips long is the watch? Let's count. Starting at the same point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm still counting because we're not done. And 7. That's about the same length. Always checking yourself, double counting. How long is the watch in paper clips? It's about 7 paper clips long. Even if we turn these up to measure the height of them, how tall they are, it would be the same. We have to start at the same point and see where it reaches on its height. Compare the lengths and then circle the correct words, okay? We're comparing the lengths of these triangles. We have this yellow triangle. There's the length of the yellow triangle. and here's the length of the red triangle. They brought the length of the red triangle over here to show you the length of the comparing to the yellow triangle. So let's read it and then you think about it. The red triangle is longer than the yellow or shorter than the yellow? Remember when we're comparing, is it longer or shorter? Is the red triangle longer than the yellow or shorter than the yellow? Comparing the lengths, this triangle length is longer than this length. If you did longer, kiss your brain. So the red triangle is longer than the yellow triangle. If they were switched in reverse, the yellow triangle is shorter than the red. All right, let's do this one. Which one is shorter or longer? The cat is longer than the lizard. The dog is longer than the cat. The lizard is blank than the dog. Let's read that one again and underline the important information. The cat is longer than the lizard, okay? So looking right here, that we know that this fella is longer than the lizard, kind of like our two ribbons right here. The dog is longer than the cat. So this dog, from his snout to his tail, is longer than the cat. The lizard is blank than the dog. So now comparing the lizard to the dog. We're comparing three objects, but for the fill in the blank, we're only comparing the two. We're comparing the lizard to the dog. Is this lizard, starting right here, is its length shorter than the dog or longer than the dog? The lizard is shorter than the dog. So we'll write the word shorter. Reading it back one more time to make sure we're correct. The lizard is shorter than the dog. Do you agree or disagree? You should all agree. Remember, when you are measuring, you have to start from the same point. It is so important when we're measuring these rods at the beginning to fill in the blanks that we all started at the same point to compare the lengths of these rods. This one is the longest and this one is the shortest. We know that from comparing these lengths. Looking at our arrows, this arrow looks the longest. However, if they were starting at the same point, it would not be the longest arrow. All right, Buzz says that the crown is 4 paper clips long. Do you agree with Buzz or do you not agree with Buzz? Looking at our example, do you agree with him or don't agree with him? I don't agree with Buzz. By looking at my measure units, I see that they're overlapping. They're not touching the ends. So I do not agree with Buzz. And why do I not agree? Because our unit of measurement is not touching end to end. They're overlapping. They do both start at the same point if you thought that, but no, the unit measure is overlapping, so they are not the same length. All right, here's our exit ticket for the day. put the names in order from the shortest to the tallest. Pam is taller than Joe, so she's taller than Joe. Robin is taller than Pam. Who is the shortest? So here we go. Pam, if you need to draw it out, you can, is taller than Joe. So this will be Pam and this will be Joe. I didn't draw him as quite as high because he's not as tall as Pam. Robin is taller than Pam. So looking over here, my Pam, I'm going to have to sketch out Robin, who is taller than Pam. Pam is taller than Joe. Robin is taller than Pam. So looking and reading, who is the shortest? Who is the shortest out of comparing all three? This one right here, our J is for Joe. Joe is the shortest out of all three of the students. Boys and girls, I want to thank you for joining me today with our measurement lesson, and I can't wait to see you on Monday.